When's the last time you encountered one of these factions? The itty bitty, it's all shitty, tear it all down committee versus the ivory tower, you're just not trying hard enough to get to the top group. Here in the US, I could actually be talking about political factions, and I'm not. I'm talking about the voices that go on in your head every single day that are tearing you down and tearing you apart because they're either telling you that it's not going to work, you've tried and you failed, you should just give up, or try harder, apply yourself, keep doing more of what doesn't work, which keeps you stuck and struggling. So even though it sounds like I might be talking about political factions, I'm actually talking about the parts of your personality that are against each other, and you're caught in the middle, continuing to stay stuck and struggling. There's a super highway out there of life where you could be driving down it and going, wow, I wonder if I want to get off at that exit, or that one looks interesting, or what about that over there? And instead, you're stuck on the cul-de-sac in life on the tricycle, just going around in circles. Welcome to Ask Me Anything for Your Success, where today I'm actually sharing with you the examples of the clients that I've worked with just in the last few days. And typically when somebody comes to work with me and they're stuck and struggling and they're having a hard time getting success and then making success sustainable so they can keep it, they tell me that they have these voices going on in their head and they just want them to shut up. They just want quiet. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. If you're new to my world, Dawn Ferguson. I'm a certified hypnotist, a rapid results coach, as well as a certified instructor. And this is my area of expertise, that you have these different parts of your personality. You have one part of your personality that comes out when you're hanging out with your friends. You have another one whenever you're operating in your career. You have another one whenever you're being intimate. The challenge comes out when these parts of your personality do not have the description on how to pull together to continue you and fuller expression. And instead, they're going off past programming about how it hurts and you weren't helped. And they're using that to continue to seek out people, places, and things that will reinforce that previous programming. Why don't you have what you want? You don't have what you want because of three things. Number one, you were conditioned not to have it. You were conditioned to make life better for others. You were conditioned to make things easier for them. You were conditioned so that's one. Number two is that you have to rely on somebody else to make it okay for you. It's what I call the trauma triangle: victim, bully, hero. But after a while, we get tired of being rescued, and the people that try to rescue us, we actually then vilify them and turn them into our bully. And then finally, your identity is not congruent. It is not harmonious with the end results that you want. And that's where the voices come in. That's where they tell you the itty bitty, shitty, tear it all down committee is designed to tear you down. Why try? It never works. And I want you to understand that these parts of your personality have purpose. They have reason for being. And so this part is trying to protect you. It is trying to protect you from pain. But at what loss? Because you never find out what you're truly capable of achieving, not for others, but for you. Because you've been conditioned that if you're going to go after anything, it's going to be so you can make someone else okay. Instead of taking care of yourself, you need to do it to where it's a benefit for you first. And then it'll be healthy and functional for your family, your friends, your community, all the way to where if you can take it to the highest level, your enemies actually benefit from you being your very best. But you'll never do that when you continue to try to protect yourself from pain. And I'll tell you what we need to do in just a moment to begin to turn that around. Then you have the ivory tower. You're just not trying hard enough. You need to apply yourself. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps group. And this tells you that you have to push through the pain. But at what cost? Because that pain is there to say, we got a problem that we need to deal with. I remember a couple of years ago, whenever I was going through menopause, put on a few pounds, decided to up my workout game, and started feeling some discomfort, but that's okay. I could just push through it until I injured myself in a way that it is something that is going to stay with me the rest of my life. So what do you do with these two parts of you that are at odds and you're caught in the middle, never able to make progress? You need to make friends with them. Say, what? Yeah. So when someone comes to me and they're like, I want to get rid of this voice, I'm like, that's the last thing you want to do. Because inside of that mess is a message that you need to hear. That's how I utilize hypnosis, is that we actually sit around a round table. Everybody has equal say. What is it that needs to be heard to bring you out at your very best? You see, the person who can sit in conflict long enough to sort it all out is the one who makes the world a better place because they're a better person. And yet, what does everybody want to do? They want conflict avoidance. And if conflict shows up, we got to point fingers at somebody else and make them wrong for it. By the way, that is the number one fear, the fear of being wrong, which leads to the dysfunctional need of trying to prove you're always right by pointing fingers at others. And how often do you do it to yourself? So what do we do to begin to turn this around? We have to give pain a purpose. Instead of it protecting you, we need to give it the ability to move you forward and everything being better because you're better. And then what do we do as far as instead of pushing through the pain, we need to plan for the pain. And that is so interesting. Whenever I work with my elite level clients, my longer term clients, and we work on their identity upgrade, their 91-day plan, and they're all excited. Yeah, we're going to move forward, and I'm going to use these painful pieces of my past to propel me into the future. And I've got it now. And I'm like, okay, how are you going to screw it all up? And if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. So how are you going to plan for it? And they're like, what? No, aren't I supposed to have positive thinking? No, you're not. You're supposed to have progress thinking. Completely different. Positive is rose-colored glasses. I asked some people recently a question about making the world a better place for their enemies. And there were a few people that said, I have no enemies. I understand where they're coming from. I also understand that's very naive, because they're the ones that are so absolutely shocked whenever something comes along in life that takes, that, as my mom says, pulls the rug out from underneath them. Because you got to plan for those problems. Now, the problems that show up probably won't be the ones that you planned for. But that's okay, because you're already conditioned and programmed your mind that this is going to come up. It is not smooth sailing. And that there's going to be a challenge, and you are going to be prepared for it to be able to move through it, to turn that challenge into the pedestal for your next level of success. Not so you can give others a hand out It's so you can give them a hand up. Okay, so I'm going to give you a real quick outline of what I do whenever I work with someone. The first thing that we look at is your avoidance activities. There's something you're avoiding doing. There's something you're resisting doing because you're in pain protection. And that pain protection is what's going to hold you back. So we have to actually get you into action. Then the next step is that all symptoms have purpose, that they're trying to give you a message. And it's a message about something that you need to plan for. Because if you don't plan that you're going to need it, you'll go back to your dysfunctional mode of avoidance, trying to take care of what can only be handled through action. And those symptoms that have positive intent but show up in dysfunctional habits are, this is how I soothe myself, this is how I get to avoid doing things, this is how I get attention, and this is how I get others to take care of me. That need is always going to be there. We need to plan on how you get it met in a healthy way. Then after that, we look at your motivators. Your motivators are what turn you on into action. It's what I call 5 to buy. To buy into any habit or pattern, you're going to have these motivators. They're status, control, autonomy, relationships, and then fairness and justice is the last one. But those motivators right now have been conditioned and programmed for you to make life okay for somebody else. There was something you needed when you were younger and you didn't get it. And so you made it mean that it couldn't happen for you. But it can. You just need to discover your strengths, talents, and abilities and bringing yourself out at your best instead of focusing on what needs to be, what environment needs to be created. I'll get it out here in a minute. What environment needs to be created for you to make it happen for others? All right. So you're using these motivators, one primarily in a very dysfunctional way. Status. Oh, wow. How am I perceived by others? No, actually, how are you perceiving yourself? Control. How am I controlling others? Hey, here's a tip for you. Victims, if they've been victimized long enough, can get really good at being able to control others in a very dysfunctional way to try to protect themselves. And there may be some of you going, oh, what right do you have to say that? I have every right, because that's the role I played for a couple of decades. Okay, so there's control. You can't control yourself, so you look at control on everybody else. Then there's autonomy, freedom. Freedom says that I can recognize the beauty in others. This is where we can sit with that conflict till we sort it out. Or we can say, no, I need to take your freedom away because I don't know how to do this for myself. So we're either going to learn to sit with our own conflict or we're going to create it for others. Relationships says in a dysfunctional way, you'll do more for others than you will for yourself, thinking at some point they're going to see how wonderful you are, and then they're going to throw you the scraps that they have left over. And when you give in this dysfunctional way, you don't attract other givers, you attract takers. And then finally, justice, fairness, and truth. You know, this is the number one predictor of how miserable you can be in life. If you are focused on all the ways that it is not fair, you're right. It's not. We got to plan for it. So instead of being focused on how it's not right, how about focusing on what's the truth? And you can only do that when you make the friends with both sides of your personality. The part that was in protection, but we can actually give it a purpose. The part that wanted you to just push through, now we can have it actually plan. Okay. So those are the motivators that will move you into action, but in a very dysfunctional way. Then after that, we have, what do you value? Each one of these builds on the one below it. So what do you value? Now we have what's called the core four. The core four values are certainty, variety, worthiness, and validation. Certainty starts off with you want to make the world a certain type of place. But if you're dependent on other people, places, and things to make you okay, ain't going to last, not sustainable. Got to learn on how to learn to trust yourself through the truth. Ooh, yeah, mentioned that just a minute ago. So quit lying to yourself. Then you have variety. Variety shows up as a healthy value when we have freedom, we have choices, and we allow others to have choices. But if we feel like our choices are taken away, man, will we create a lot of drama. Not everybody is the same. We all have to discover our strengths, talents, and abilities. And when you try to make it an equal playing field and take away all competition for people to bring themselves out at their best because they can compare themselves at who they were yesterday, not necessarily against anybody else. When you take away that competition, it's going to lead to a lot of drama because it's going to come out somehow, some way, where somebody's got to be down and somebody else has got to be up. And you're going to do that internally, first to yourself. And then when you don't allow yourself to compete and be even better than who you were yesterday, then you're going to find another group that you got to hold down for you to feel like you have an edge over them. Just telling you, this is called the human condition. And then the last, then we have worthiness. Now, worthiness can show up in significance. Significance is when you and I come together because we can create more together as a team than we can apart. Or you can get it met, your worthiness, in a very dysfunctional way through importance. Look at me. I have to save you for you to be okay. Ooh. Or look at me. I have to martyr myself for you to be okay. And then finally, validation. What we all want is love. But we've been taught to connect to others through problems instead of progress. So what we really want is love, but we've learned for that validation to hold ourselves back and settle for less than that so no one else feels bad because they don't have what the strengths, talents, and abilities that we have. So we have to start with loving ourselves, and then we can move into being able to take care of others, because we're doing it in a healthy way. And then finally, what's going to cap all of this off? The 6 fears. Fear number 1 that leads to all the other fears, the fear of being wrong, which leads to the dysfunctional need to be right all the time. So what do we have to do there? We have to allow ourselves as well as others to be wrong. Or how about fear number 2? The fear of uncertainty, which leads to the need to be in control, not of ourselves, but of everyone around us. Fear number 3, the fear of not being needed, which leads to the need to do too much. Fear number 4, the fear of being a victim, which leads to the need to take everything personally. Fear number 5, not being special, which leads to the need to be important. And fear number 6, not being liked, so the need to be appreciated and say, oh, look at what I do for everybody, and no one is able to see me. So the idea is to start at the bottom and work your way up. Why do you need assistance with this? Because the original problem of these 2 parts of you pulling you apart was created by somebody else. So working with someone else, not reading about it in a book, not listening to an audio or watching a video, but working with someone else to work you through this system. Wound to wealth. Taking the painful parts of you and turning them around to where the world is better because you're in progress. Okay. So what does it look like if you want to explore this system further? I'll give you a couple of different options. Option number one, let me train you in it. You can go to ischforyou.com. See about the upcoming class I have. By the way, I have a bonus. It's known as Mission, Vision, Purpose, Path. Because right now people are being called to heal these parts of themselves, become friends with these parts of themselves, so then they can be able to do it for others. So Mission, Vision, Purpose, Path is a workshop that I'm putting on. The only way you have access to it is if we've already worked together privately. So you either train with me or you're a private client. You come on as a private client this month, the month of July, you'll get that workshop as a bonus. Okay, so ischforyou.com. Go see what I have going on there. The other option is to have a conversation and see if I'm the right fit for you on this system. You can go to canhypnosishelpyou.com, see what it is that I do there, and then ask for a consultation with me. You can ask for a consultation, but if you don't specify, you will get one of my associates. So ask for a consultation with me and see if I'm the one to take you through this system. Okay. You have protection and you have push through. Are you ready to begin to turn them into having a purpose and having a plan? I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for a friend.